What's up guys, it's me, Jeremy. In the 4 months or so since Mordekaiser's rework in August, he's changed a lot. And now he's ended up in kind of a weird spot, comparable to how he was completely before the rework. And it brings up the concept of what his rework accomplished. Also a heads up, I'm doing a $200 RP giveaway with some friends, and it's super easy to enter, just check the link in the description. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button, and if you don't enjoy the video, click the dislike. Either way, if this video hits 10,000 ratings, I'm gonna buy myself a pizza. Anyways, let's get started. The Mordekaiser rework was unique compared to all of the other reworks by being one of, if not the actual first attempt by Riot, to change what defines the meta by creating this character that clearly fits outside of the standard roles and team compositions that the meta we have come to know are defined by. He was marketed and remade to fit the role of this bruiser carry in a duo lane that hasn't really existed in the meta outside of some random cheese strategies. He was supposed to be this revolutionary champion that set the stage for the meta that we've become accustomed to start changing completely. Ever since the Season 1 World Championships, the bottom duo lane has consisted of a support and a ranged AD carry, and aside from lane swaps, this has never changed competitively. There's no doubt that the League of Legends meta is heavily limited by team compositions and roles, and Mordekaiser was intended to throw that out the window and succeed in spite of it. Giving Mordekaiser great AD and AP scaling, the ability to gain full experience when laning with an ally, and introducing the Dragon Ghost if he assists on the kill, all made him a prime candidate for the bottom lane. Having the kind of flexibility to take a melee fighter bottom freed up a spot for a marksman in the jungle or a solo lane, and really brought a lot of potential to team compositions in the game for a time. For about the first 2 months or so after his rework, it definitely was successful in creating a competitive pick for the duo lane that wasn't an AD carry or support. However, the reason why he succeeded, well, it wasn't really optimal at all. He essentially succeeded in breaking the meta by just being completely overpowered, which is of course not the ideal way to do that kind of thing. At the time of his rework, the numbers on his Q and W were far too high, and giving him full experience allowed him to hit level 6 while his lane opponents were still level 4. And so although at first it did accomplish its goals set out in the design, it did so for the wrong reasons, and after his resulting and well-deserved nerfs, well, he's struggled a lot to find a place and has lost all sight of what was intended for his original design. Completely before the rework, Mordekaiser was an acceptable niche solo laner. His rework moved him into the bottom lane, as his W's active and passive were pretty much useless without an ally nearby. Recently, after some buffs, some players have found a place for him in the jungle, utilizing his great sustain and counter gank potential, and we're starting to see him pop up in some solo lanes. However, as much as I personally enjoyed playing a bit of Mordekaiser jungle, the statistics showed that he's just not that good of a champion right now, with a win rate sitting at about 46% at the time of making this video. And more importantly, he's lost the tools in his kit that made him ideal for the duo lane role. On paper, the Mordekaiser rework was an incredible idea. There's no doubt that the League of Legends meta is limited, and for the average casual player like you and me, that sucks because it means a large amount of champions and strategies are just straight up unplayable, and trying to make your own builds and strategies work is a lot more difficult than it could be. Even with almost 130 champions, League of Legends feels limiting, as the suboptimal, sometimes more fun strategies become even less likely to win games. Mordekaiser was supposed to give that decision to the players, to go into the bottom lane as a melee juggernaut and act as an anti-carry, but it really fell flat once Riot removed the initial power that made the pick so popular. However, the idea still stands, and it's something that I really want to see developed further, and Mordekaiser is a victim of poor execution more than anything else. With new character designs, items, or other changes, the meta can easily begin to revolutionize and evolve past the stale pre-existing setup. Unfortunately, the past has shown that the meta isn't really going to revolutionize by itself though. Sure, there might be minor shifts here and there, flavors of the month, but the League meta is too cemented to have any major changes without the assistance from Riot. So I can at least applaud them for showing that they are trying to do that with the Mordekaiser rework. And so although Mordekaiser might not have accomplished what he intended to at the end of the day, he was such a bold step in the right direction towards a more open and free meta compared to what we have today. And an example of someone who likely took inspiration from the design philosophies of the Mordekaiser rework was actually Kindred. Similar to how the Mord rework was designed to break the meta in the bottom lane, Kindred was designed to break the meta by being an AD carry in the jungle. Up until her release, we had always seen tanks and fighters as the popular meta options for jungling. And Kindred's design so far has shown to be reasonably successful. Her win rate in solo queue isn't an obnoxious 56% like Mordekaiser's was, and although she is a reasonably contested pick in the LCS and LCK, her win rate across the board is below 20% in competitive play at the time of making this video. So although she's definitely a strong champion, I'm not sure if you can say that she's overpowered, and even if she is overpowered, it's by a relatively small margin, unlike how Mordekaiser was, because she succeeds in a different way. AD carries in the jungle haven't been successful in the past, mainly because they lack tankiness, which you generally want as a jungler to at least have a little bit of to be able to fit team compositions, as a squishy jungler usually correlates to a squishy team and thus a poor team comp. But Kindred gets around that because her ultimate gives her a form of tankiness that allows her to not only make herself unkillable, but the rest of her team as well. Her ultimate completely covers up the weakness that picking an AD carry in the jungle normally would, and thus allows her other strengths to shine through and for her to be a competitive pick. And she's an example of the design concept that we saw in the Mordekaiser rework, but with a little bit better execution. She succeeds because her kit allows her to bypass the main weakness of the off-meta choice. Kindred is an example of this idea done right, and she successfully breaks the meta and is strong without being obnoxiously overpowered. And as more champions and reworks with unique and distinctive playstyles are released, we'll have even more options on how to play beyond the current meta, which should hopefully keep the game interesting for players who are beginning to burn out. And with the design of Mordekaiser and Kindred, Riot has shown that they are interested in changing up the meta, and I am definitely looking forward to their future creations. And that's just about it. Here are some of my favorite comments from a previous video where I asked what item you hope to get from the Hextech crafting system. For a chance to be featured in a future video, leave a comment about what your favorite champion rework was. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Her body's gold like September. She burns through the night like an ember. And all those things we try forgetting, I remember. But we say we all fine, we all fine. Sunny day dreams and we up now. Vodka lemonade, I serve it up, it goes down. 75 degrees.